NOOB, Veteran.
NOOB versus Veteran.
Welcome to another episode of NOOB vs. Veteran. Today we are covering Monster Hunter. And in order to do this, we have a special guest on today. We have our resident artist who's done the thumbnail and the logo and all of the character art for our podcast. Novacotus coming by to be the Monster Hunter expert. Because we really needed one for reviewing this movie. You know, we could not do it without a expert on hand.
And they couldn't find one, so I'm here.
All right. So yes, New versus Veteran is our video game adaptation review show. So we take people who don't know what the property is, people who do know the property is, and do a review. You have BaitZaDust, myself, who is a definite Monster Hunter noob. I played a little bit of World before bouncing off, and then we have Supa O. How much of Monster Hunter have you played?
I've only played Monster Hunter World, and I enjoyed Monster Hunter World, actually. I played a lot of it when it was out, and I wanted to get Ice. I want to say the next one was like Iceborne or something.
Yeah.
I just never got around to that. But no, I enjoyed my time with Monster Hunter World. I think the reason why I haven't just got back in the series is just because, I don't know, just other games were available.
True.
My time, but maybe one of these days I'll go back and play one of the newer ones.
So like for me, I feel like the Monster Hunter franchise has been a interesting little thing for me because on principle, it has everything there that I'd like. But I just cannot abide by the grinding personally. That's my that's the main barrier. I think the gameplay is great, but the going
best.
back to hunt a monster multiple times is just not my deal.
Okay, and yeah, I understand where you're coming from. The grinding is the best part.
I've heard.
I think it makes it like, for me, it kind of makes it fun. Kind of different than like grinding in any other type of RPG. Like if you grinding, like for instance, like a Pokemon game, that gets too tedious. Because you're just going against like the same Pokemon and you just running around finding it and getting like little points of experience to like eventually level up your Pokemon. That stuff gets boring. But like Monster Hunter does it, in my opinion, does it in a way where like every monster you get like a different part, and those parts give you like cool armor, and then that armor gets cool effects, and then you could do that all over again. And then every monster, or at least in World, at least has like information about monster, and the more you fight it, the more information you get about it. And I mess with it. It makes you feel like an actual hunter.
Well, as the foremost monster hunting expert on the pod, what is your Monster Hunter credentials, Novacotus?
Okay, well, I also got started in Worlds like you guys, but I put hours of my life into that game. Like, I started off soloing it, and then I got a buddy of mine to jump on, and just dumped. I didn't look it up before, but I want to say at least a couple 100 hours in, which is like on the low end for the average Monster Hunter player. But and then I played that religiously, and then the Iceborne DLC came up for that, and I jumped into that. I didn't finish that one actually, but fell off a little bit when they switched it back to the Switch with, I think it was Monster Hunter Rise, and then Wilds came out, and I jumped into that, beat the story in like 2 days, and now they're upgrading more DLC, so I'm going to jump back into it again. But it's, and that grinding that you're talking about is awesome. Like for some, especially if you're like a loot goblin, where you just like, you want the next little piece, the little nugget, and then you work hard for it, and they drip feed it to you, and then you go, all right, what's the next little nugget I gotta go get? And I love that. It's awesome.
The closest I've gotten to understanding Monster Hunter was, there is a game for the PlayStation Vita, okay, if you remember that, called Freedom Wars.
Oh, that.
And yeah, Freedom Wars was pretty baller.
It was pretty
right?
good.
Because it was like a dystopian future, and I think the big selling point is you fought these like cyberwork or whatever kind of monsters. And it was Monster Hunter like you hunted multiple things, like you grinded a lot and whatnot. And for me, I think the grind kind of worked, right? And you had like sci-fi weapons to do, like swords and guns and stuff. And it had like an Attack on Titan grappling hook kind of system
Hmm.
attached. And for me, Freedom Wars was like the one that I poured the most time into and got the closest to completing. Like I put dozens of hours into Freedom Wars, and so I understand the hook. I do. It's just I don't know. For me, Monster Hunter just doesn't.
Is it the repetition? Because sometimes you have to grind one monster and kill the same monster like dozens of times to get that drop that you
Maybe
need.
it's the length of the level.
Oh, the hunts can
It
be
could
like
be
40
30 to
minutes
40 minutes.
per
Yeah.
hunt. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I feel like the hunts in Freedom Wars are shorter. Like I feel like if each hunt was like 20 minutes,
To be fair,
I'd
you
be
can
more
make
down
them
for
20
it.
minutes when you hunt real good.
I guess if you really know, right?
Yeah.
Well, this bit of preamble is for a movie that really does not need it, as it turns out, because the connections between actual Monster Hunter and this movie are very slim.
Yeah.
We're talking about Monster Hunter, directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, a name that you will see again on this podcast, because he has directed a few video game movies over his time, including Mortal Kombat and the Resident Evil movies, most notably. And for me, personally, Paul W.S. Anderson is kind of like the perfect like mid-tier, mid to low budget director. Um, he doesn't really make high art. A lot of it's schlock, but it's the good kind of schlock, in my opinion. Right. I'm a big fan of Mortal Kombat. I like the first Resident Evil movie. I even messed a little bit with this Monster Hunter movie. None of it's great. But he kind of knows what he's doing.
It doesn't feel like he's divorced too much from the source material. It feels like he's taking artistic liberties. So I respect him for that, at least.
Yeah, and he also did Event Horizon and
Hmm.
Alien versus Predator. So I can't hate him. I just can't hate him overall. But that being said, Monster Hunter 2022 was a perfect COVID movie, right? It came out during that period. And it decided to do something very different with the, I guess, Monster Hunter franchise. And Paul W.S. Anderson, when he was cooking, said, "What if I made it an isekai? Why? I don't know.
Oh, that's
I'm
because this is the
unsure."
trend, when it comes to some of these video game adaptations. It's not
Yeah.
like really about exploring the world. It's like we'll just grab some random regular guy and put him in the world of whatever. That's why we got Mortal Kombat the movie and Mario
Yes.
Bros. And
I don't know what the obsession with is with like, oh, we need a normal perspective, right? We need a whatever perspective. Because like you could easily take Monster Hunter, like the idea of monster. There's a million ways you do that. Like have it be like just a young person, like a man or woman who is going on their first hunt. Or you go for angle of like a monster destroyed someone's village, so they want revenge on it. It's like a
yeah.
Moby Dick thing. Like there's easy ways to do that. I don't know why you feel the need to put an army woman in it, but that is besides the point. Now, this is a rewatch. I think this is a rewatch for all of us. But with our perspectives, what are your initial thoughts on Monster Hunter?
I could start us off. So first time I watched this film, I think it was with you, Bates.
Yeah.
And we watched it at the time, and I remember not really liking it like that. And then after rewatching it again now, I still don't really like it. It's to me, this movie is still like buns, bro. It's like it's just like it was it was very hard for me to like low key stay awake during this film. I feel like there wasn't a lot of there was a lot more they could do have done with the monsters in this than the ones that they showed. Even like the fact that it's takes place in like a desert for the most part, and then after the desert, we're going to like a slightly less sandier desert. There's not a whole lot of like background changes. And then I mean that at most the only thing I really like is the friendship between Artemis and Hunter guy, but other than that, it's whatever.
All right. Okay, so for me, I remember the first time. So the first time we watched Monster Hunter, it was for ridicule. It was for mockery. It was to be like, wow, look how goofy this thing is. And we had a good time. Okay, we had a great time doing that. But this time around, as I was watching Monster Hunter, I was texting O today, and it was the image of the guy looking the guy in the subway, like with a magnifying glass, looking at other guy's phone with like a gem, because I don't hate it actually. Actually, I think it's quite nice. Now, I'm not gonna say it's good or high art or anything, but it is most of it. There's a couple slow parts, but for me, most of it functions as a decent 7 out of 10
7
action movie. Yeah, like
uh,
mid-tier action movie. And if it was not called Monster Hunter, okay, if it didn't have the Monster Hunter brand attached, and it was about the same plot, like just like a military person or a military group that gets stuck in an alternate like world where they like an unforgiving alien planet and they have to fight a bunch of monsters with the locals. I think it'll be perfectly fine. I think the action's pretty good. I enjoy the beginning part, right? Especially when all the military guys are getting like picked off one by one, and it's like a real survival kind of bit, and then like they have to work together. Tony Jaa and Mila Djokovic. I think that part works. It gets a little bit slow, admittedly, in the middle, but then it picks back up, and I think the Rathalos fight and the Diablos fight are pretty good. And like I think it's perfectly all right. It's not great, but it's perfectly all right.
Hey man, I
So
mean,
it has definitely gone up a couple points in my head. And if this was not a Monster Hunter movie, and it was just like generic sci-fi or fantasy, I think the expectations would be different, and you could just like it more. That's my take.
I I think if just a little bit on that, I feel like if it didn't have the Monster Hunter brand attached to it, right? Let's take all the monsters out, replace them with I don't know, a similar version monsters of similar versions that have no IP
Mm-hmm.
attached to them. It would still be a very forgettable movie, but like it would only have no scrutiny because there's no name attached to it. It would be like the what's that movie called? The one with the goblin who finds a gun, and that
Oh,
tier.
are you talking about
Gremlins.
No, he's talking about I think Dragonfire, I
Yes,
believe.
yeah.
I'm gonna insert clip of orc with a gun here.
it'd be like
But
a
yes.
it'd be like a throwaway Netflix movie that no one would bat an eye to, and it'd be like something on their catalog. I think it being Monster Hunter just kind of makes it worse. Like even like even without the Monster Hunter branding, it's such like a low tier movie in my opinion.
Mhm.
But how do you feel, Novacotus?
You asked me what I thought of the movie. I'm gonna just call it a straight up 5 out of 10. Um, the Monster Hunter IP is attached to it, and we can't change that. I don't care for the fact that it was an isekai. I don't think that needed to be a thing. I don't know. It's just weird. We didn't need, and if it was an isekai, why is it like United States Rangers and like a full convoy, and the specific monsters they chose in the movie? Like, bro, starting with the Diablos, cool, fine, go for it, whatever. Nasilla, why did you put Nasilla in there? Why is there a giant? Why is that a thing? And why did you kill it so
Yeah,
quickly? Like,
it is. This always takes up a lot of screen time too, low key, and it was just like weird for
Which
this.
one's what's the seller? Is that
the
the
giant
spiders?
spider.
Yeah, the spider
Yeah,
one.
it's the
Yeah,
giant spider. And that
Oh,
thing
okay.
is tough by itself. It shouldn't have been like a whole horde of it. It should have been like one big one and then like a bunch of little baby ones all over the place. But they just had like a bunch of Nerscylla like living together, and I'm pretty sure they're territorial. So I don't know. And then they jump straight to, are we going through all of the monsters right now? Because
Yeah, let's
I
list
got
them out.
things to say.
No, but you can just say how you feel.
Okay.
All right. The Rathalos probably shouldn't have been the end monster. And if it was the end monster, it should have been the proper end monster. And they shouldn't have brought in that last monster at the very end.
Oh yeah,
What
yeah.
is it? The Gore Magdalos?
Is that Naruto?
No, that was Gore Magdalos. That is a adolescent elder dragon. So like spoilers, those characters died at the end of that movie, my guy. You don't beat that thing with bone weapons. like no.
Okay.
Some fresh newbie who just learned how to hunt and a bunch of scrubs with bone weapons don't kill that thing. They all died. They all died horrible deaths at the end of that movie.
That's why there's no sequel, actually.
There's no sequel, they're dead. Sorry.
They all got clapped.
But yeah, so that's where I'm at. That it was a solid 5 out of 10. I think they could have probably changed some things and made it better. But they didn't, so that's where we're at.
Okay, all right. You know, if I could be the man on the hill that's defend this movie, I will do so, but not enthusiastically.
I know, bro. You were
So
funny.
what's
you were singing it's glue.
It's whatever. I mean, it's okay.
You were
like I said,
you were hopping up and down with joy.
it's you know, it's kind of on the level of like I don't know, like his other works, right? You know, like Alien versus Predator. That's where it is. I mean, I probably put AVP a little bit above this, but still.
No, I feel you.
All right. So let's do a breakdown of the movie. We can talk about it a little further in detail. It begins in the New World. Now, quick question: is the Monster Hunter World, is that called the New World, or is that they make that up?
I don't remember.
The New World is Monster Hunter Worlds, like that new continent they go to is the New World, I believe.
Okay. So, in the New World, you see humans coexisting with a variety of monsters. We have the Hunter, who is played by Tony Jaa of Ong Bak fame, who is hunting creatures, and he's like on a big ship, like a big sand ship, traveling with a bunch of people. But during this travel, and I would say everyone here does look pretty accurate to the games, from what I remember. Like you have the
Watcher,
Handler.
What do you call it? Lady of the
Admiral.
Glasses.
Handler.
The Admiral. The
Handler.
You know, the Handler. Yes, the Handler. You
Yeah.
have a bunch of people, and their boat gets like hit by a Diablos, and some people die, and Tony Jaa's character gets thrown overboard into the sand, and he's like, "Ah, man, yeah, I'm separated. I had to figure my way back." And then, meanwhile, on Earth, you know, our Earth, we have an Army Ranger, Captain Natalie Artemis, played by Mila Jovovich, who, I must say, we're going to address this now, from the other way, to the elephant in the room. Yes, Mila Jovovich is the wife of Paul W.S. Anderson. Paul W.S. Anderson loves his wife very much, okay? He loves his wife a lot. And Paul W.S. Anderson, if he has the opportunity, will put his wife as a lead role in his movies. As a lead, coolest, strongest action star in every single movie he can. He did this famously in the Resident Evil franchise, where his wife slowly but surely took over the entire franchise from other named characters in the game. You know, Jill, Leon, Ada, Chris, who cares? It's all about Alice.
So you just an
that's just
original
what he
character in
does.
there too.
Yeah. He loves making his wife like the original OC, and that's the coolest and the strongest and the sexiest. And you know, I can respect that. Okay, I can respect that.
Hey, some dudes can't even give a call back. He gave her movie franchises.
So yes, and this Mila Jovovich is the coolest, strongest Army Ranger that there ever was, and learns how to monster hunt very easily. So she is Army Ranger, and she has a bunch of other randos with her. I guess T.I. is the most famous one. And they are all looking for I think Bravo team that like disappeared in the desert. And I think on their way to find Bravo team, they find a bunch of stones with like ancient writing on them. and there's a big like storm that's approaching, and we're trying to figure out, okay, we can't find Bravo team, whatever. And basically the storm overcomes them, and they are pulled like through a portal into the new world. So they've been like fully teleported somewhere else. It takes them a minute to figure it out, but because they first, I think they find the bodies of Bravo team, and they have been like incinerated with heat strong enough to basically reduce them to bones and to glass the sand around them. So they can tell this is a big deal. This is no good. And also, they say there's no tracks, right? You know, if this was people, where did they go? So everyone's kind of freaked out. But they're rangers, so they keep going, right? In spite of this. They also find a gigantic skeleton in the middle of the desert. And it also freaks them out because that is bigger than known dinosaurs, I would say. Like most known dinosaurs. Like even if you go to a museum, dinosaurs are not that big. Like so is
maybe like a megalodon or something. Like one of like
yeah. It's not looking good. So on
is
their way
that,
through the what
oh yeah, I was just gonna ask. Did they ever say what those bones were for? Like what the monster species it came
No,
from?
no, they didn't. You can look it up. It does tell you what they are because I think somebody figured it out. I think it was probably just some old dead elder dragon from some other bygone era, but
Okay.
they never
Well,
say it
checks out.
specifically. Yeah.
It's actually the bones of
So
Val. I don't know.
they keep going, and then they eventually run into a Diablos. And the conventional military weaponry does not work. They are just dumping rounds into this thing, and it is shrugging it off, no problem. Explosives kind of do something a little bit, but not really. And a bunch of the soldiers just straight up die here, right? So they proceed on, and they escape, and they get
Alien
into
attack.
the pack of the Nursillas. They run straight into the pack of Nursillas, which are gigantic spiders that are all trying to eat them. And I think at this point, Megan Good's character is freaking out and is like, oh my god, we're all gonna die." And they're like,
Yep.
you gotta tighten up, soldier. You know, we're gonna make it. That's just that we're Rangers. They do not make it. They do not.
Not even a little, no.
Not even a little bit. They're pretty much everyone gets killed by spiders in gruesome ways. Which is another thing I respect this movie for, is you'd think that it'd be the band of soldiers like traveling and going through and doing this adventure, but they all die. They all die horribly.
Yeah, I think this was like low key the best part of the movie. Dealing with
Yes. Yeah, this part works a lot.
yeah. If honestly, if the movie was something like this, where it's just like, you have your group, right? You go the isekai into the new world route, right? You have this group. They don't give them the outside interference of like other monster hunters. I mean, just have them go through and have them face off against these crazy monsters. But these monsters will come out in like obviously like mysterious and suspicious ways, like with like the spiders. Like
Mhm.
because the way the spiders kind of like deal with them, and they're so like caught off guard because they've never dealt with something like this before. It kind of gives you a very you did mention he did Alien vs Predator before. Uh,
Yeah.
so it was given like a bit of like alien type vibes with these creatures just stalking their prey. Uh, it'd be interesting to have seen how they would have low key. I mean, it would probably be the movie would probably turn to like a horror slash thriller type of movie, but it would be cool to see how they would have gone through it through all this.
I was thinking that when they're in the
Yeah.
cave. I was like, this could definitely
It's
be a really
brutal.
good horror movie. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, they were just getting freaking butchered, bro. It was bad. It was
yeah.
the main character got
Bro,
dropped.
so she gets paralyzed, right? Like she gets stung and she gets paralyzed, right? And she wakes up webbed and cocooned, right? And then like she goes over to the Megan Good's character, and she's already gone, right? She's already
Yeah.
half digested because she had freeze T.I.'s character, and then like T.I. like he goes like like rips open his shirt, and it is, and you look and there's like these like pulsing like things like on him, and then like they burst open and a bunch of mini spiders just it's great.
Yeah. And I don't
It's
think
absolutely fantastic.
it'd be crazy. And I feel like I think I looked a bit more into this monster after this. I don't think that monster in the game does any of those things.
Nope. No,
this is
sir, it does not.
Nope.
Nope. It has poison. It has these giant like purple crystals on its back. You usually fight it underground on a giant web. It has this like what is it called when it like a pincers in the mouth, but they like
Yeah.
jut out like 4 feet.
Oh, mandibles.
Like mandibles,
Yeah.
but these mandibles like grow like 10 feet out, and then they spread open like it's trying to clothesline you, and then it rushes you and then snaps shut. But they did not do that. I mean, it's not super realistic, but I mean, none of the rest of the movie was anyway. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
Yeah.
she barely escapes the spider trap, and I think she realizes like they don't go out in the sun, right? They are afraid of sunlight.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
she is trying to figure out her way there. But I mean, it's a real thing. Like they're watching her. They're waiting for it to get dark, so they can snatch her up. And I think this is around time when she finds the hunter, right? And they were unclear at first because I think the first time earlier in the movie, the hunter does appear and he tries to like single them with like a chalk kind of flare, but they're very aggro at this time and you know what's going on. And then you see a guy like shoot at them. So they immediately
yeah,
like, okay, like, oh, get hostiles, 12 o'clock, right? So they try to communicate, but they end up fighting for like a bunch of this time of this movie because they do not trust each other. Because I guess then another dimension they added was the hunters speak a different language because they're in a different world. They don't speak English, which I guess it makes sense. Until you do find hunters that do speak English in the movie later on. That is a different that's a different discussion.
like
But
one
Tony
guy.
Jaa speaks up a made up language. And Artemis cannot understand him, right? And they're both kind of like aggressive to each other. At different times, they knock each other out and tie each other up. But eventually they do come to like a cooperation. Like, okay, we can work together. We can like figure something out. For whatever reason, I guess he gives him chocolate, and then for the rest of the movie, like chocolate, chocolate,
Yeah,
and people think that's a funny bit. I think it did overplay its welcome, but hey,
Chocolate.
what can you do?
Chocolate. Yeah.
I think he thought that chocolate meant any food.
Yeah.
mm.
Yeah.
But then again, like his brain was not prepared for the processed sugar that we are capable of.
Yeah, immediate overdose.
So I guess through sign language and through symbols, they communicate like, oh yes, there's a sky tower that connects to the other world or whatever, and they have to hunt Diablos and they have to figure it out. They set a trap and they have to figure out how to monster hunt. And at this point, we get a little bit of like a training montage, right? They hunt the Narcillas, they get their poison, and then this time I think he gets her a gear, and they kind of have like a training like arc where they're both doing I think what the not twin blades, dual daggers,
Dual
Yeah,
blades.
dual daggers.
Oh,
dual
dual
blades.
daggers. Okay.
Well, it's dual blades.
Dual
Yeah.
daggers, yeah. So they're wielding the dual daggers. He's showing them do them, including how to like charge them.
Yeah, they
I
just
guess there's all things that are in the games, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like,
So
it's like is I was slowly thinking about this. So do the I don't know if they I don't remember if they explain this in the world, but when it comes to like the blade and weapons like blades being able to like charge themselves or like the insect legs getting their like power boost, is there like a specific like thing to those weapons that gives them that charge, or do they just
you mean like energy or anything?
yeah
I've
yeah
always seen the like dual blade or dual daggers as like a buff that your character uses. I didn't think about that as like a magical ability or anything, but there are definitely other weapons that use technology to simulate like that kind of effect. But like the dual daggers, for instance, you're usually just you go into like a little bit of a little rage and you start flailing wildly, and it usually works. You know?
Okay. Yeah, because when in the movie when Artemis had the blades and she was doing that whole thing and she let it go because there was a spark there. I'm like, it like hit me like, oh, is that like an aura thing in one Monster Hunter? I remember the
Arguably, you could argue that it is because, like, for instance, the longsword in Monster Hunter has a spirit gauge, and that's not like the weapon itself doesn't have that. That's just your character has a spirit gauge, and when you fill that, you can unlock a different move set with that weapon. So you could argue that it's that kind of thing going on with the twin blades. But why she was surprised, I don't know.
It's my own power.
My own power. What?
Now, I will say, right, to the untrained eye, this does feel like they are setting up a proper monster hunt during this segment. You know, through the training montage. They're saying traps, they're getting special equipment, you know, they're getting everything ready to hunt a Diablos. And I think they do hunt the Diablos. So, you know, they kind of pull it off. They're able to poison it. They're able to slow it down. I think the hunter has a great sword at this point.
Yeah,
That he
He
stabs
does. Best
into
weapon.
Diablos, but it's not
I
all the
do
way.
know
But then
his
she's
sword,
able to
to each their own.
Yeah.
finish it off. And yeah, she also shoots it with the RPG from her Humvee, because we still have to include modern military for whatever reason. So they do kill the Diablos, and then from the Diablos you see her like carving it up and taking stuff from it to make new weapons. This does feel to me like it's trying to be the game, right?
Mm.
And then but Hunter is wounded, so she puts him on a little stretcher and drags him off,
Which is
and
also game
she
accurate.
then true. That
When
is.
you get
And
knocked
then
out,
she
the pelicos will
finds.
cart
Oh
you
yeah,
off. Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Yeah,
Then she
little
finds an oasis with the Apsaros. They're
Yeah.
just ankylosaurs. Is that what they're called, right?
Yeah, basically.
They're just ankylosaurs. I know they're from the game, but they're just ankylosaurs.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right. There's the I think in a game called like Airsoft or something.
Yeah. But they get to the place, and then I think they meet more people. They meet the admiral. They meet the handler and a bunch of other like monster hunter people. They all look like, I guess, game accurate in a
NPCs.
way.
Yeah.
You know, NPCs. And they're like, yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna hunt. And
they-
now this is where it gets a little odd. Because the admiral speaks English.
Yeah.
Right.
Perfect fluent English.
Perfect fluent English, and they're like, why do you speak English? And he's like, well,
Well, you
you
see.
see, the ancients, in ancient times, travelers would cross over between the two worlds. And, you know, that's where we learned English or whatever, which is like, oh, that couldn't have been too ancient of times. Like, by ancient of times, it would have to be from the last, like,
4,000,
I don't know,
5,000 years.
when English was invented, but less than 1,000.
What are you
Like,
talking about? What?
Roman English?
It's like space bending time magic or something. Who knows, man?
Yeah,
Actually,
but like, because they're speaking in modern English.
well,
So I don't know what ancient times they're talking about.
I mean, didn't you? They did explain it though. Why it was like so fluent. You might have missed the line, but you know when he was going over it, he said, "I remember this." He said, "I, Ron Perlman, do not wish to do not want to learn this alien made up language,
Oh,
so I
no.
will be speaking English."
True.
I
True,
will.
true.
You cannot pay. You have to
Now,
pay me a bit more.
here's why I'm going to ask the most obvious question ever, right? But for posterity, Novacotus. Now,
Yes.
do people from our Earth cross over to the Monster Hunter world? frequently?
No.
Is this a lore thing?
No. If it has ever happened in any of the games, it was probably in one of the earlier ones. I can tell you from the hundreds of hours I've played, I've never seen it. Never seen it once. So I don't know, man.
Now, is there a lore about the ancients?
There's Wyverians is an old ancient civilization in Monster Hunter, and they had high technology. It makes sense that they would have some kind of giant obelisk, and they would have monsters protecting it. It would not be a gate to another world, most likely.
But yes, they appear to have an obelisk with a monster protecting it, and because they got to close the portal, because if they don't close the portal, then that'll be destruction for both worlds, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So they get ready to, I guess, fight the Rathalos, who's the big new threat now, because Rathalos attacks the camp, and they have to get ready to fight the Rathalos. So they get to the Sky Tower, but during this battle, she falls through the portal, returns to her world, and the Rathalos also goes through on the other side. There's a bit where I think a military rescue team picks up her, right, and straps her down, but then a Rathalos shows up and just completely destroys their plane. And that's pretty cool. To bites off the head of the plane, and then she has to crash, and then she has to get out and fight it. You have Artemis, the hunter, and them together are able to defeat the Rathalos. I think she shoots it in the mouth with a flare that kind of blows it up on the inside a little bit, and then the hunter shows up with bows and arrows, and together they are able to kill the Rathalos. And then even though she's given a choice, do I stay in Earth or do I help this cause, right? And she's like, you know what? By golly gee, I'm going to go over there. I'm going to Monster Hunter World to continue to fight monsters. Somebody has to do it. Yeah.
Well, it's going to be a tough mission, but it's a good thing I'm a monster of a hunter.
When she does all that, and then in a scene, which I love when movies do this. I love when movies include a scene that is everything a fan could want, right? But it's at the very end, and it's only there so they can chop it up and put it in trailers to trick you into believing that this is what the movie is about. And this is where I guess they all team up to fight Gore Magala. And it's everything you could want. It looks so cool because, all their powers are going off. The Admiral is using his weapons. I think Tony Jaa's character has a twin blade, a spear. He's jumping up electricity.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, this is Monster Hunter, right? And then the movie's over. Sorry. Go home.
They were gonna die, dude. They were not equipped to fight that thing. They were not ready. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The bone weapons they were using, first weapons you get in the game, my guy. There was no upgrades. There was no good weaponry. Those guys died. I'm sorry.
Y'all struggled with Diablos. Dog, you're not ready.
No.
Not ready. So, also there's a bit with Muscular Chef, where Muscular Chef is hitting on her.
And she was into it too, man.
That's the
she kept smiling back at him, bro.
And I think there's a mid-credit scene where you have an ominous cloaked figure.
Yeah.
Who's in the
for
air,
no reason.
What's going on
for
here?
no reason, random cloaked man.
Well, you're saying Monster Hunter doesn't have an overarching villain? Does it have an overarching human villain?
No, usually it's a monster. That's the whole point.
So that's the Monster Hunter movie. A imperfect movie, a flawed movie, but a movie nonetheless. So I will say that this is a poor adaptation of Monster Hunter. It complicates the lore a lot for no real reason, no discernible reason. Maybe somebody just decided, normal audiences can't understand monster hunting. That's just too crazy. They'll just fall out their seats if we put on a movie where people hunt monsters in a different world. And and that's why they decided they needed a POV character. But for a action movie, like a fantasy sci-fi action movie, like that's like an isekai, it's not terrible, right? I think it's watchable. I think it's, have a beer, sit down, have a good time. Monster Hunter 2020. That's my review.
I mean, yeah, I mean, if you wanna turn your brain off and enjoy it, you know, you could enjoy it by that. But, for most of us who likes to watch things with our brain on, you know what I mean? You get the movie is very I'm gonna be reiterating just a lot of stuff I said in my initial reaction, but it is very, like, dull to me. Outside of, like, the one, like, maybe one or two, like, scenes, it just doesn't. I think that the whole purpose of an adaptation is to make you at least feel a similar feeling to the original source. You know what I mean? For Monster Hunter, I guess it would be like what I would like to see is not only a world full of monsters, each with their own
Mhm.
special thing. Yeah, how we could get past certain things for each one. In this movie, they didn't really go over any weaknesses like that. I mean, they did the thing with like the Rathalos and being like, before he breathes fire, that's when he's the most weakest. But I feel like that didn't even factor in. And to be honest, they kind of like nerfed this Rathalos a bit. Not even nerfed, but they took away like a feature which I think differentiates Rathalos from like a typical like dragon, being his like poison. Uh, and I feel like that could have been a really interesting thing they could have added, and also just a bunch of just on like a cinematography standpoint, it's like a bunch of different or random shots that I feel like he kind of overdoes, or a lot of like slow mos that he kind of he wants to do to make it look cool, but it just
Mhm.
always is just like you're just padding screen time. Like it's a real like it's a real like something happens and you replays it three different times and it's just like usually that's when you play something 3 different times it will give you like hype, but all it's doing is extending the runtime. You know what I mean? And also there's just shots of like, especially with like the Diablos part, where I was in one shot Diablos would be gone. But like in the very next shot we just see this Diablos like pop up like a foot behind someone, and it's
Mhm.
just like where was he before, so you never really got like a sense of like the spacing of everything. There's just a lot of flaws in this movie just as like a movie for me, and on top of that I think the script is like super weak, and that's why I just can't I still can't see it that highly.
That's fair. That's fair. You have any closing thoughts, Nova?
Yeah, so I agree with Supa in that regard. This was it didn't need to be an isekai. Uh, what you said about them not um taking advantage of a monster's weakness and learning a monster's weakness is a big part of it. Like Diabloses have high like sensitivity to high pitched sounds and stuff like that, and that's a big part of it. And they're tunneling and breaking their horns with blunt force weapons, like the greatsword our guy the hunter used. And Rathaloses, they do have poison. They're really good at ground combat. They like to tail swipe. You can cut those tails off with like a greatsword, which our guy used. Like there's a lot, and the one weakness they had, the Rathalos being vulnerable before it breathes fire, is the only thing that's not a weakness in the game. There were plenty of other ones they could have used.
Yeah.
Like archers in the game commonly will do this thing where they like rain a hail of stones on the top of a Rathalos to knock it out of the sky. It's the whole thing. And they don't use that. They don't use stunning counters. They use the grappling hook very briefly, but mounting monsters to knock them down is a big like there's a lot of stuff. And I think the story definitely could have been revolved around an in-world character. Like you mentioned earlier, Bates, at the very beginning of this episode, it could have just been a revenge story, which has happened in the games. There's characters where their family is killed by a monster and they just want to kill that monster and spend their life hunting it. That's you can do that, and it would have been great. But they shoehorned in the United States Rangers and
Mhm.
they just didn't need to. I don't know. She still could have been a badass. She could have just been like a badass who grew up in that world, you know? But we got what
Okay.
we got.
So if you had to rate it as trash, mid, or peak, what would you rate it as?
Mid, I guess. It was good enough. I watched it and I wanted to play the game, so I can't say it was fully trash because I want to play the game now. So it did its job, I guess.
For me, you know, I have my own kind of calculations here, but for me, this movie's a trash.
Trash. For me, it's a mid. It's a mid. Okay, so we can differentiate. Now we need to get even more granular. Okay, is this high mid, low mid, or like true mid, or is this, I guess bottom of the barrel trash, kind of trash, or like elevated trash?
This would be a high trash for me, so I guess elevated
High
trash.
trash.
Yeah.
And this is
It's a
bottom of
low
the
mid for me.
Yep, ditto. Bottom of the barrel mid.
All right, so I guess we can round this up. We will call this low mid. It's like it's all right.
Yeah, we're all kind of around that area.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we got this away, but before we go, let us work together. Let's put our brains together. We got 3 minds here.
Mhm.
Okay. Let's do a Monster Hunter rewrite. The rules are you cannot change the broad plot outline, so you still do the isekai thing. Okay. You still do the isekai element. And Rathlos, Diablos have to be in it.
Can we remove Nacilla?
How do you rewrite Monster Hunter 2020?
I kind of touched on it before, but I think if we made it in like if we were still doing the isekai thing, right? We had to do the isekai thing. Making it into like a survival type series where like as the movie goes, like kind of similar to like Predator or Alien or Alien and Predator. It becomes like a survival movie throughout the thing where you could keep like I guess you could keep the men, you could keep the army guys as they're going through more and more of the weird monsters of the series comes and like confronts the groups. And if we actually implement these monsters weaknesses or their like strengths, or they're just their weird ass like I could see a scene of, I forgot what the monster's called, but it's like this big, it has this like big like stomach and just kind of swallows everything.
What is that thing called? The
Yeah,
the yellowish one that's like a giant lizard. Yeah, I forget the name, but I know what you're talking about.
yeah, like I could just picture a scene of that thing just sneaking up on someone and grabbing him, and everyone just freaking out. It's just swallowing people whole. They grab a guy, the guys get digested on the inside. Like I think there's a lot of monsters in this world that could give a vibe like that. You will have your Diaboloses. I think Diaboloses will be a good fit for that movie. Maybe it's gonna be kind of crazy, right? But maybe we take the movie outside of the desert. There's gonna be a lot of because Monster Hunter World is more than just sand. But if we do get to that desert part of the movie, Diablos comes out, and now that's a new problem. And then I don't know if Radalos will be the penultimate villain or penultimate monster at the end, but you could have him. You could have him like in the forest somewhere. He stings someone with his poisonous tail and have to get by that. Like this, it would be a survival.
Rathlos for me is a good like movie one monster for finisher. I think. All right. So here's my change. Is I think you keep the main thing, right, where they travel through, they're a guide. But you play in more into the Rathlos, because Rathlos I think should be like they never really, I don't think they really connected the personal connection, because Rathlos is the one like that killed Bravo Team, right? Incinerated all those guys. So I think you could have a bit where, it's kind of revenge, right? Maybe have Rathlos, maybe like they can see Rathlos destroy Bravo Team. And then, as you said, they can get picked off one by one by like a myriad of monsters and not necessarily in the desert. And she is trying to track Rathlos, and she's kind of like, I don't know, like on a Moby Dick, Captain Ahab style, like, I'm gonna get him, kind of thing. Around the same time, like 30 minutes of the movie, I would have like all of her original crew die too, right? But I'd skip the whole like, we're gonna fight each other. I don't trust you bit of the hunter and her. That's a waste of time. It's a huge waste of time and slows down the movie. You know what? It's magic. Who cares? Have Tony Jaa speak English. Let's skip that too. Okay. let's just jump straight into it and have him understand language and have like him rescue her for something. And now it's just the two of them have to get somewhere. And then the big first challenge is the Diablos. I think Diablos is a perfect big first challenge. And you can play it out very similarly, maybe accelerate it a little bit, but very similar to how they did in this movie. They have to figure it out. They have to, as you brought up Nova, they have to exploit like a sound weakness. They set traps for it. They defeat Diablos, get gear, and then they are moving on to Rathalos. And Rathalos is kind of like the big thing, and she is continuing to kind of push for that. They meet up with other people in a camp, and then the rest of the movie, like you got the dramatic low point would be they're getting stuff ready to fight Rathalos, but then Rathalos shows up and like destroys, the camp. And it's kind of like a hope is lost moment. And then, but maybe they find like one or two things that like, oh, we can use this. And then you have a cool montage of them like, out in the jungle building stuff like Predator, like the end of Predator. Where Arnold is like, they're chopping down trees, they're sharpening weapons, they're getting a little thing together, and you're like, we got to take out Rathalos. And together, they have a real fight. No military hardware, no whatever. Just play it out like a Monster Hunter game. They hunt down the Rathalos and defeat it. Then if you want to hand out other stuff, hey, maybe they can like say, oh, now we're going to like, fight something else. But have time pass. And then you can have a cool bit where she's in like Rathalos armor, right? And has like a full set. And she's acclimated into the world. And she's like, I don't know if I'll ever go back home. But for now, until it's safe, I'm the monster hunter. And then the last bit, they all team up and they like fight a big monster. That is what I would do, if I take the same ingredients and make like a cheesy kind of action movie. That's how I would do it.
I mean, that's not bad. That's not bad. I think that is probably better than what they did in here, for sure already. Because what you
I
did
like
was
your
just
idea, Bates. I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Supa.
I think that could work. If we had to stick with the isekai thing, I think that could work.
Yeah, because what you're doing is at least like using the assets from the game and taking their properties that they have, instead of pointing at a random monster in the game, being like, oh, that's cool. What? There's a whole guide about it. Nah, bro. I'll make it up on the fly. I'll make it. This looks like a
Yeah.
dragon, so he's gonna do dragon things. I don't.
And shout out, this is the very first one we have of these. But we will have many of these in the future. This is the very first thing, Next Time Baby, we have in our New versus Veteran series of sequel teas that will never happen.
Yeah.
So shout out to Gore Magala. We look forward to seeing how many Next Time Babies we rack up by series end.
An achievement.
What an achievement. So that wraps up our episode of Noob vs. Veteran. I would say if you like the content, please like, subscribe. We have much more good things on the way. Next week, we will be reviewing Assassin's Creed with Michael Fassbender. I have not seen the Assassin's Creed movie, so I'm mildly excited about how it adapts a franchise I have enjoyed a whole lot of. But we'll see that next week. And if you want to follow us, you can follow, I guess, us on TikTok or Instagram. And I guess Supa O makes TikToks. And I think you also have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, of course. All let the same. Supa O. Novacotus. You got any? Where?
Yeah,
that
he has a
anyone wants-
portfolio, and you can follow it at.
No, I don't. No, I got nothing. I got nothing, boys.
All right,
This is
so
free
so
clout,
so
man.
so here's
This is
what we're
free
gonna do. Here's what we're
clout.
gonna do. Is I'm gonna put a bunch of his art up throughout the episode, and then hopefully
Yeah.
together we can collectively bully him.
Dude, you've
starting
been
a
trying for
portfolio.
years. Good luck, sir.
You know, if you want a commission, okay, if you want a commission, please
No,
just tell
no,
me,
don't
and
do that to me.
I'll
Don't do that to
me.
And
You know,
don't do that to me.
what's this?
I
He
thought we were
says
friends.
commissions are
No.
open.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
he says
it ranges everywhere.
furries are encouraged.
My social security number is.
You should have. But when he's ready, when the time is right.
You can make a crap ton of money
Call
doing furry commissions. I just don't want to go down that path.
TikTok.
No.
All roads lead to Rome.
Oh my goodness.
Just just think about it, I guess. But all right, we'll catch y'all later. Hope y'all have a good one.
Stop it by everyone.
Later, boys.
Later.
No, there's no change in the plan. Bye.